What is up, everyone? Welcome to PlayerEssence X Nintendo. I'm finally bringing this back after so much time, and I was thinking I wanted to bring the show back because you guys know, all of you guys are old school PlayerEssence fans. You guys know that PlayerEssence X Nintendo is kind of how I got my start as far as in the community and what I was even doing on this channel. If you go further back than that, it was actually news, but PlayerEssence X Nintendo is really what kind of brought my channel to the forefront. That's how I got my first 1,000 subs and all of that. But I wanted to bring it back in a way to where it can be better than what just my PE news videos and the stuff that I did before. I always crossed over between it being, you know, with like face cam and it not having it. So what I want to do is I want to bring PlayerEssence X Nintendo back pretty much every single, I would probably say every couple weeks, maybe 2 times a week. And what I want to do is actually intertwine the whole Ask OJ segment into this, so you guys can ask me questions on Twitter. Make sure you follow me, link in the description below, and I will bring that up in the end segment of PlayerEssence X Nintendo, and it will always be face cam. There will never be anyone's where it's just going to be recorded gameplay video throughout the whole time, that is. So welcome, everyone, and for all of you new cats that have been subscribing to my channel, check out my old PlayerEssence X Nintendos. All you have to do is look at my homepage or just type it in to the search bar on there. You can check out kind of what the show was about, but really what it is about is basically going through the best Nintendo news as far as for the day, sometimes for the week, but really getting to the end of it is like the big topic that we discuss, some of the hot topics that you guys want me to talk about. And everyone is talking about Final Fantasy 15, whether it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch or not, and the big January press event. So we're going to get to that at the end of the show, but there is some pretty cool news that I want to go over first, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So, new Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World details have emerged, and this is actually pretty significant, guys, if you're planning on getting this game. This game will be 60 frames per second on the new Nintendo 3DS and only 30 frames per second on the original 3DS. That is a very big difference for the new Nintendo 3DS to the regular 3DS. Usually what developers will do will speed up load times a little bit. That's really it. And of course it has all the built-in stuff like the face tracking for 3D and things like that over the original 3DS, but that's all you get. But with this one here, you're actually getting improved frame rate, which is very, very few and far in between. I mean, there might be some games where the frame rate might be improved here and there, but nothing developers are willing to tout. But this one actually says this from Nintendo. It's going to be 60 frames per second on the new Nintendo 3DS over 30 frames per second. So if you are looking forward to this game, you know, it's just Yoshi's Woolly World, but it's on the Nintendo 3DS. There's some new stuff if you buy the amiibo and all that. But I mean, if you're looking forward to this, you definitely want to pick up a new Nintendo 3DS. Hopefully you're able to get one of those $99 ones on Black Friday and really just pick it up and play it on there, because that's going to be the superior experience with that 60 frames per second gameplay. So pretty cool stuff there. Also on the 2DS, it's also going to be 30 frames per second as expected. So that's interesting. That's very interesting that they're planning on doing that, and that's going to be really silky smooth on the Nintendo 3DS. If you've played other platformers, like, let's say, what else is on there? You have Super Mario 3D Land, that game's 30 frames per second. You have Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, that game's 30 frames per second. So this one you're actually getting 60, which is really interesting and good for that sweet, smooth, silky gameplay. Although there will be no co-op, though, as far as the multiplayer. There's no co-op like there was on the Wii U version of Yoshi's Woolly World. So yeah, unfortunate, but hey, you get 60 frames per second on the new Nintendo 3DS. Alright, moving on to the next topic here. We have THQ Nordic is working on 2, yes, count it, 2 Nintendo Switch projects. Really cool stuff there. So this was in an interview with Nintendo Everything. So this is what they had to say on the matter. They said THQ Nordic is developing 2 projects for the Switch. That's according to the company's business and product development director. I don't know how to say his name. Reinhard Police? Something like that. Police? Who we recently had the chance to interview after Nintendo released the announcement video for Switch. An image was published showing that several companies are on board. Of course, THQ Nordic was included. Now we can say that the publisher is planning multiple titles or multiple games for the upcoming platform. THQ Nordic owns the right to a stable of franchises such as Darksiders, The Blob, Deadly Creatures, Legend of K, and Destroy All Humans are just a few of the IPs in the company's possession that will have a full interview later at some point. But the big thing for this is Darksiders, because people have been anticipating a Darksiders 3 coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and of course, hopefully the Nintendo Switch. Now, Darksiders Remastered, that game is coming to the PS4 and Xbox One. It might already be out, and I think the Wii U version is also already out or coming pretty soon here. So really good stuff there, and that's kind of just ramping up because Darksiders 2 is already on the Nintendo Wii U, and I think you can get, I'm not sure if it's on the PS4, Xbox One as far as Darksiders 2. It might be, not really sure, but either way, getting Darksiders out there, I think it's a great franchise. It's a nice mix between like God of War, Legend of Zelda, more of the first one than the second one, and really just great adventure games. And that's what's really cool about Darksiders, the gameplay in it. It's actually kind of fun. I mean, I'm not the biggest Darksiders fan. I think the gameplay needs to be a little bit more refined as far as the combat goes and everything. But if they can do that, I think this has a fantastic chance at being a major game for the Nintendo Switch. We're talking about Darksiders. If Darksiders 3 comes to the system, I think it can do very well, in addition to it doing well on the PS4 and Xbox One. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and let's hope for the best when it comes to Darksiders on the Nintendo Switch. All right, moving on. So Earthlock Festival of Magic is on track for the Wii U in early 2017. However, the company might want to put that game, not even might want to put it on there, the company wants to put the game on the Nintendo Switch as well, if Nintendo will allow them. So Snowcastle Games has expressed significant interest in the Switch version as far as Earthlock Festival of Magic, after Nintendo Everything reader Mahdi emailed the developer, CEO Bendrick Stang. He said that he and the rest of the team plan to have Earthlock ready for Switch launch in March 2017 if Nintendo lets them. So regardless of whether Earthlock is released on there or not, it sounds like there's a good chance that it's going to be on the system. Whether it's not at launch, that's fine. A couple months down the road, Nintendo's still finalizing their launch lineup as far as what third-party games are going to be there and the release list as far as what's going to happen. So I think this is going to be a major launch. I think you're going to have a lot of indie developers on board. We still need to see what Shinin has. Oh my god, Shinin's probably working on something that looks beautiful. All of their games always look really good. Fast Racing Neo is one of the best looking games on the Wii U, one of the best looking indie games ever made. That company just pours out those awesome looking titles with very refined, great gameplay. A lot of times it's 60 frames per second, so I can't wait to see what they're doing on the Nintendo Switch, and they've already confirmed that they're working on the system. Plus you have a lot of other indie developers that really want to get in on the system and are probably going to have games ready to go, especially with that architecture, with what they're doing with NVIDIA, the whole thing that you can take it portably and you can also have it at home for a home console. I think that's really appealing to a lot of different indie developers, so it's really exciting. And if you guys want to know a little bit more about Earthlock Festival of Magic as far as the game, at least before the game launched, I actually had an interview with the developers of Earthlock Festival of Magic, and I will have a link to that in the description below. I interviewed them a while back, I think 2 years ago at this point, so I interviewed them. So if you want to just hear what I had to say as far as before the game launched, you can check that out on PlayerEssence.com. All right, we're gonna move on to the last thing here, and this is the main topic. So Final Fantasy 15 has launched, and it is amazing, guys. I'm gonna give you guys my just impressions just about, I think I'm about 10 hours in or so, but I'm doing a lot of side quests. I'm doing a lot of stuff in this game, and it's funny because this game, I wouldn't say it's split, but I would say that based on, like, let's just say professional reviews. You know, professional reviews, everyone just generally says it's okay with some flaws here and there, the story and all that, some of the combat, you know, things like that. But personally, just me, the eye test and the playing test, it's fun. It's super, super fun. And Square Enix actually announced that it's the fastest selling Final Fantasy game ever. It shipped 5 million copies on its first day of release. Square Enix announced across the PS4 and the Xbox One. And you have to remember, when Square Enix actually ships those, or actually any company, not even just Square Enix, when anybody ships those out, they've actually sold them to the retailers, so they've actually made their money. Now, of course, hasn't sold through that yet, but I'm pretty sure those numbers are definitely going to sell through it, and there's going to be more shipments coming in. I know on launch day, or at least shortly after it, Final Fantasy 15 was not even available on Amazon. You could not buy it. You actually had to wait. So that's actually really interesting. Usually on launch day games, they're available. Like, you can get them even on launch day. But Final Fantasy 15, it was shortly after launch, or no, a few hours afterwards. It wasn't available for a short period of time, and then they did get some restocks or found some more copies or whatever the case is. So I know it's doing very well, but it definitely needs to sell more than 5 million than to have the long-term success, because this game has so much money built into it, so much money put into just the structure and what they're doing. But I always find it funny when people talk about this game and they say, oh, it's been in development for 10 years, which technically, yes, but the game was pretty much a whole completely different type of game than it was back when it was first announced and when they showed the PS3 version to what it is at this point. I doubt this version of the game that we're getting has actually been in development for 10 years. There's no way. So concepts, all that stuff, yeah, whatever. But I think, what was it? Kensuke Tanabe also said something like, oh, well, the Metroid Prime Federation Force, that's been in development for like 5 years, or the concepts for like 3 or 4 years, and that game does not look like a game that's been in development for that long. So you know what I'm trying to say here. It's like, you can just say, yeah, concepts and stuff, but actually, the game actually being produced as the final version, that's definitely not the same game that we saw at first. Concepts, yes, but the story is completely different. Lots of things have been changed. The combat is completely different. The combat is completely different from the freaking demo that released last year. So, I mean, I just find it hilarious when people try to use it against it, which is okay. I mean, obviously, you're going to expect that considering the fiasco surrounding this game. But overall, I mean, this game is fantastic. I think it's really good. And kind of how this relates to Nintendo is that there's been lots of speculation and rumors going on. Really not just rumors, but really speculation. No, actually, there's been speculation and rumors that Final Fantasy 15 could come to the Nintendo Switch. Now, here's the reason why I'm like not so sure about this, and then I'll give you some reasons why I am. I'm not so sure about it because this game has been in development for quite some time, and the type of game that it is and the engine that it runs on, I'm just not sure if that's ready for the Nintendo Switch at this point, and if they're even going to work on it. Maybe if the Nintendo Switch comes out and it sells like gangbusters, then maybe they can start working on it, and maybe there's a version for it later down the line, like maybe in the next year, the calendar year 2017. But I just don't know if they're going to have something ready. Whereas if you look at Final Fantasy VII Remake and you also look at Kingdom Hearts 3, both of those games are still down the line, and both of those games actually run on Unreal Engine 4, which is supported day one. Unreal Engine 4 supported day one from the Nintendo Switch. So I think it's a lot easier to get that engine up and going with those games than Final Fantasy 15, which does not run on Unreal Engine 4. So that's the reason why I'm like not so sure. However, the Final Fantasy 15 producer actually said that he's really excited and interested for the Nintendo Switch, and he kind of wants to make games for it. So the fact that he's excited, that might motivate him to say, hey, look, we can get more sales. We can definitely get more Japanese sales because, you know, the Xbox One version of Final Fantasy 15 isn't going to sell there. So we can definitely sell more in Japan with the portable version of Final Fantasy 15. I think that's something worth investing in my opinion. If you can get the tech working, if you can get it going, that's something worth investing in. Just because the way Final Fantasy 15 is played, I think it actually lends itself to sometimes playing in short chunks with the hunts. You can go on your hunt, you can drive there, you can do that hunt, and then you can stop. You can save the game. It also auto-saves as well. So I do think it might be a good idea to get that game going on the Switch just for the Japanese audience, just for that potential there. And I think, like I said, the game does lend itself to playing in a portable fashion at times. So I'm actually really interested in seeing if the game ends up being made on there. And I think Final Fantasy 15, like I said, I've been playing it. You know, people have somewhat bashed the Xbox One version. People have bashed all the versions, really, even the PS4 Pro version, the Lite, and then the normal version. And I guess there's going to be a patch that's 1080p, 60 frames per second. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on with this PS4 Pro and Final Fantasy. But I have a 4K TV, okay? I just bought a brand new 4K TV, and I actually brought a brand new Xbox One S, which does the HDR, high dynamic range, and all of that. And it actually looks great on my TV. I had to tinker with some settings. I put it to the gaming mode. The gaming mode, like the dedicated gaming mode, it caused a little bit of flicker, so I turned that off. And then there's another mode that I have on my Vizio TV, my Vizio 4K TV, to where it actually helps out with the game as far as the fluidity. It's 120 hertz on there, so it actually really helped out. And I had to put up the sharpness. So I actually had to make my own custom gaming mode, which was cool. And it was fun doing that, actually. And it actually looks great. So on my TV, Final Fantasy 15 on the Xbox One S is running great. It looks great. I mean, it's upscaled to 4K, but I mean, there's really not much of a difference between 1080p. But it still looks fantastic after tinkering with the settings. So overall, I'm really excited. I'm happy with what they're doing with Final Fantasy 15 on the Xbox One. I think it looks great. And it also runs really good. If you look at some of the comparisons between the PS4 and Xbox One and even PS4 Pro versions on Digital Foundry and stuff, they say the Xbox One version runs just as good at times, if not better, than the PS4 version and the PS4 Pro. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm happy. But we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see if this game is going to come to the Nintendo Switch. I'm really excited about it, and I'm hoping it's going to come. But we can't talk about some of the other games that we do think is going to come over to Nintendo Switch, because Nintendo recently had Game Awards 2016. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was there, and there's a lot of controversy. Not a lot of controversy, but there was a lot of back and forth as far as what they showed off. The trailer was pretty cool. The Let's Play, some people were like, I'm not so sure about that Let's Play just because of the Wii U version. And that's been a big, like, hot topic, you know, button. like hot button issue. Hot Topic, that's a store that you go to buy cool clothes and stuff. But hot button issue was definitely the Wii U's frame rate. The Wii U version of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild's frame rate, because it was looking rough, my guy. So I will say this. I will say this about this, guys. You have to remember, this game is huge, it's ambitious. I'm telling you, I said it once, I'll say it again. The Wii U is not built for those open world games. You saw what those developers had to do, what Monolith Soft had to do for the Wii U version of Xenoblade Chronicles X to get that huge open world going on that system. And personally, me, I don't even think it has anything to do with necessarily like the system's power, like overall power or anything like that. To me, it's just the CPU and it's just the architecture of how the system was built. The system just wasn't built for the large open world games, in my opinion. It just wasn't built for that. Xbox 360 and to a degree PS3 were built better for those type of things. Probably Xbox 360 were just built better for it. And you can see that in some of the different games out there. Now, those aren't necessarily amazing or anything like that, but I just think that it was built better and easier. Not only that, but you also have Nintendo's inexperience with building open world games on the Power PC and those type of platforms, because really they never did that before. They didn't do that on the Wii much, and the games that they did, they didn't even want to release here. Xenoblade, look how long that game took. It took all generation to get that game. Then it took another all generation to get Xenoblade Chronicles X. So it's taking all generation to get Zelda. So you can see Nintendo's inexperience with these type of games. I think with the Nintendo Switch, it's going to streamline those things. The architecture is going to be much better from PC to there, in addition to just having more resources and having better things for that. We have Unreal Engine 4, we have other things that Nintendo can use, as far as, I'm not sure if they're going to use Unreal Engine 4, but just the assets that they have with the Nintendo Switch. So I think The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is definitely going to run a lot better on the Nintendo Switch, and that's the version obviously to play. Yes, you can play the Wii U version. It's probably going to be okay. I'm going to get the Wii U version of the game just so I can do comparisons and all that. And I might buy two versions. Actually, no, I'm going to buy two Wii U copies, then I'm going to buy a Nintendo Switch copy, just because I want to have one locked up and, you know, keep for myself, because I think that's going to be a rare game, brand new, because I just don't think that Nintendo's going to make a ton of the Wii U version of it. I think they're going to make a lot of the Nintendo Switch version, just like Twilight Princess. And then I'm going to have another copy just to play so I can open up. And then in addition to that, I'm going to have another copy for the Nintendo Switch. And I'm probably just going to have another copy digital, probably on my Wii U, just a digital version, and then an actual physical version keep locked up for myself, the Nintendo Switch version of the game to play. So yeah, it's going to be interesting just to see the differences, because Nintendo isn't saying anything at this point. And some people were kind of wondering, well, why don't they use the Game Awards to talk about the Nintendo Switch? And I'm like, why? There is an event in 1 month, a little over a month, that's going to tell us everything about the Switch. For the most part, it's going to show off the games. It's probably going to show a lot of Zelda. There's no need to sit there and blow your load right there when you can just wait and freaking talk all about it and give a big blowout right then and there in January when you have the dedicated event towards it, instead of sharing the spotlight with all these other things. So I think Nintendo came a little soft into the Game Awards, but I don't think necessarily like they needed to come really hard in the Game Awards. It was a Game Awards show. You know, they did it with the original Legend of Zelda reveal, Breath of the Wild, but at the same time, man, like, they have their stuff ready. That's going to go in January, so we have to just wait for that. But anyway, guys, that wraps it up for this one. Make sure you check out the description below. There you'll have links over to my Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff. Go ahead and give me a like, follow, all of that stuff. If you love the show, make sure you subscribe. Also, make sure you hit that like button down there. It really helps us spread our content across YouTube and everywhere. Helps us get more subs, helps us get more likes, all that good stuff. So go ahead and subscribe if you want more Nintendo goodness and just gaming in general. But that wraps it up for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for the next video. Peace.